Hi there, I'm Debbie, and I wanted to share my story with all of you. Let me start from the beginning. Eddie and I met in college and fell head over heels in love. We were inseparable and knew that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. After a few years of dating, we tied the knot and began building our life as a married couple. The early days of our marriage were blissful. Eddie was the epitome of a supportive and loving husband. When we discovered we were expecting a baby, our joy knew no bounds. During the first trimester, Eddie was attentive, caring, and doted on me. He helped me with household chores, always made sure I was comfortable, and showered me with affection. However, as the pregnancy progressed, something changed. Eddie started working late shifts, claiming he needed to make money to support our growing family. I understood his dedication, but it soon became apparent that he was avoiding his responsibilities at home. I remember feeling so uncomfortable and tired during my pregnancy. Simple tasks became challenging, and I needed help. But Eddie seemed to be too focused on work to notice. What hurt even more was that Eddie stopped caring about making things easier for me. It was as if he expected me to do everything on my own. I would come home after a long day, and there would be no assistance or support from him. I felt like a burden, struggling to keep up with the demands of pregnancy and everyday life. I tried talking to Eddie, expressing my feelings and how much I needed him. But every time he dismissed my concerns, telling me he had important work to do. It was like my pain and discomfort didn't matter to him. Eddie, please listen to me. I'm in so much pain, and I need you by my side. Can't you see how much I'm struggling?
Come on, Debbie. It's just a little discomfort. You're overreacting. I have important work to do, and I can't be bothered right now.
This isn't just discomfort. I can barely walk some days, and the pain is unbearable. I need your support, especially in these final months of pregnancy.
Look, I can't always be there for you every little ache and pain. I have deadlines to meet and bills to pay. You'll be fine.
But I thought we were in this together. I thought we were a team. How can you just brush off my knees like they don't matter?
I told you I have work to do. This is important, and I can't drop everything every time you're uncomfortable. I have responsibilities.
But I'm carrying our child, Eddie. This is our baby, our family. How can you prioritize work over us?
I'm doing this for us, Debbie. I need to work harder to provide for our future. You'll understand when you see the benefits.
It's not just about the money. It's about emotional support, being there for each other. I need you, and our child needs their father.
We'll talk about it later. I really have to go now. Work won't wait.
I watched helplessly as Eddie walked away, leaving me feeling invisible and alone in my pain. It was a painful reminder of the growing distance between us, and the realization sank in that I couldn't rely on him for the support I so desperately needed. My pregnancy was tough on me. I felt uncomfortable and tired most of the time. My body went through a lot of changes, and it wasn't easy to cope with them. I experienced a lot of physical pain, especially in my back and feet. Some days the pain was so intense that I could barely walk. My feet were swollen, and it made it hard for me to find relief. It was frustrating because I wanted to enjoy this special time, but the discomfort made it difficult. I also had to deal with morning sickness, which actually lasted all day. I felt nauseous and had frequent bouts of vomiting. It made it hard for me to eat properly and get the necessary nutrients for my baby's development. On top of all that, I had hormonal changes that affected my mood. I would have sudden mood swings and emotional ups and downs. It was hard to control my emotions, and I felt overwhelmed at times. Throughout it all, I needed support and understanding from my partner, but Eddie seemed to be too focused on work and didn't pay any attention to my needs. Unable to bear the burden alone, I reached out to my mother for help. She came to stay with us for a couple of weeks, providing the care and support I desperately needed. She couldn't stay with me throughout my pregnancy because of her side business. I didn't care that my mother wouldn't be there always. I just needed someone to help me and take care of me. Then came the day Eddie announced that he would be leaving for a 2-week business trip. Eddie, please. I can't handle being alone right now. I'm 8 months pregnant and I need you here with me.
Debbie, this business trip is crucial. I just can't cancel it. We need the money.
Money isn't everything. I need your support and presence in these last few weeks. I'm scared and in pain.
You're being overly dramatic, Debbie. It's just 2 weeks. You'll be fine. My job is important and I can't let anything interfere.
But I need you. I need you to be here for our child and me. What if something happens? What if I go into labour early?
Stop overthinking. It's unlikely anything will happen. Besides, you have your mum to help you.
I need my husband,
Not just my mum. I thought we were a team. How can you leave me when I need you the most? Look, there's no point in arguing about this. I've made up my mind, and nothing you say will change it. I'm leaving for the trip. End of discussion. You're choosing your job over your family, Eddie. I never thought it would come to this. My heart is shattered, and I can't believe you would abandon us like this. This is for our future, Debbie. You'll understand someday. I have to go now. Tears streamed down my face as I realized that the person I loved had chosen his work over our family. I felt abandoned, scared, and utterly alone. The weight of my emotions pressed down on me, shattering my trust and leaving me questioning whether our relationship could ever be the same. It was a devastating blow, and my heart felt broken into a million pieces. A week later, as fate would have it, excruciating pain gripped my womb. I mustered every ounce of strength to reach for my phone, only for my vision to blur. In a panic, I called Eddie, desperate for him to come home and help me through the pain. Eddie, please! I'm in unbearable pain. I need you to come home and help me. Debbie, like I've told you a million times before, I can't be disturbed right now. I'm on a work trip, remember? But Eddie, I can't handle this on my own. I need you here with me. Please don't leave me alone in this agony. Look, I can't just drop everything and come back. I have responsibilities, and you need to understand that. How can you say that, Eddie? I'm your wife, and I'm carrying your child. I'm in excruciating pain, and you're telling me not to disturb you. I have to go, Debbie. I can't help you from where I am. Take care of yourself. Goodbye. When Eddie responded to my plea for help during my immense pain by telling me not to disturb him, I was crushed. It felt like a dagger through my heart. I was already in so much physical and emotional distress, and his dismissive attitude made me feel invisible and insignificant. I needed him more than ever, and his refusal to be there for me shattered any remaining hope I had for his support. It was a stark realization that he had chosen his priorities over the well-being of his own family. How could he disregard my pain and ignore the fact I was carrying his child? It was a painful truth to accept, that the man I loved and relied on had seemingly abandoned me in my time of greatest need. It was as if all the promises we made to each other had been shattered in an instant. I couldn't help but question the foundation of our relationship and wonder if his actions were indicative of a deeper lack of care and empathy. Despite the hurt, I knew I had to summon my inner strength. I refused to let his absence define my worth or my ability to be a loving and capable mother. In that painful moment, I made a silent vow to protect myself and my child from further neglect. Frantic and on the brink of collapse, I managed to call my mother before losing consciousness. When I finally woke up, I found myself in the sterile surroundings of the emergency room. The agonizing pain returned, and I felt drenched in sweat. My mother informed me that I was in labor. Our baby had arrived 2 weeks early. The doctor informed me that labor would be a little hard considering all my earlier symptoms and my passing out. I was terrified and desperately wished I had Eddie's hand to hold, but instead I held on to my mother's hand for support. During labor, I experienced intense pain and overwhelming emotions. It felt like waves of intense pressure and cramping coursing through my body. Sweat poured down my face as I clenched my fists, trying to cope with each contraction. The nurses and doctors were there to support and guide me through the process. It was both physically and mentally exhausting, but I remained determined to bring my baby into the world. With every push, it felt like a mixture of anticipation, fear, and excitement. And then finally, I heard the cries of my newborn, a beautiful sound that brought tears of joy to my eyes. The pain of labor was instantly replaced by a rush of love and a deep sense of accomplishment as I held my precious baby in my arms for the first time. Holding my newborn daughter, I marveled at her precious face, but there was a void where Eddie should have been. My heart ached, realizing that he hadn't even bothered to answer my mother's calls during the pivotal moment in our lives. After giving birth, the days that followed were filled with a mix of emotions and challenges. Eddie's absence continued. My mum stepped in and became my rock during this time. Together we took care of the baby, providing the love and care she needed. It was tough being a new mother, but having my mum by my side made a world of difference. As the weeks went by, there was still no word from Eddie. It had been 2 weeks since we last heard from him. I couldn't help but feel hurt and abandoned. My mum tried to reach out to him, leaving him a voice message about the birth of his child, but there was no response. Despite the pain and disappointment, I focused on my baby and her well-being. I made sure she was loved and taken care of.
my mum and I formed a strong bond, and together we faced the challenges of parenthood.
Debbie, have you thought about what to do next? It's clear that Eddie has abandoned both of you and the baby.
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot. I can't continue to live like this, always hoping he'll come back. It's time to take a stand for myself and our daughter.
I understand, sweetheart. It won't be easy, but you deserve better. You've been through so much, and you don't need someone like Eddie in your life.
I've made up my mind. I can't keep waiting for him to change. Our daughter deserves a stable and loving environment, even if it means I have to do it alone.
I'm proud of you, sweetheart. You're a strong woman and an amazing mother. We'll get through this together, and I'll support you every step of the way.
Thank you, Mum. I couldn't do it without you. We'll fight for the happiness and security we deserve, no matter how challenging it may be. The decision to file for divorce wasn't an easy choice, but I knew it was the right one for both myself and my child. I gathered evidence of Eddie's neglect, documenting his absence during and after my pregnancy. It was important to protect my daughter and secure a better future for us. Finally, a week later, Eddie returned, bursting into the house with a misplaced sense of entitlement.
Where's our baby?
My baby is asleep.
Come on, don't play these games. She's our daughter. Don't try to exclude me.
No, Eddie. You don't get to claim her as yours after everything you've put us through. She's my baby, the one I cared for and protected when you were nowhere to be found.
How dare you! I have rights as a father!
Rights? Where were your rights when you left me in pain and begged me not to disturb you? Where were your rights when I was alone giving birth? Where were your rights when you ignored our daughter's first weeks of life?
I had no choice. It was important.
That is exactly my point. Important is supposed to be your pregnant wife. Important is supposed to be your child, not your stupid work. I've had enough, Eddie. I won't subject myself or our child to your absence any longer. It's time for you to face the consequences of your actions. I walked up to my room, retrieved the divorce papers, and handed them to Eddie. When I handed Eddie the divorce papers, his initial reaction was a mix of surprise, anger, and disbelief. His eyes widened, and his face contorted with rage. He seemed unable to comprehend the gravity of the situation unfolding before him.
Are you serious, Debbie? You think this is the solution? What are you trying to prove?
I can't continue like this. You've neglected me during my pregnancy and abandoned us when we needed you the most. This isn't how a family should be.
Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. It's just a rough patch. We can work it out.
This goes beyond a rough patch, Eddie. You dismissed my pain and left me alone when I was desperate for support. Our child deserves better, and so do I.
You're making a huge mistake. How can you take our child away from me? I have rights too.
I've thought long and hard about this. I can't let our child grow up in an environment where they see their father neglecting and abandoning their mother. It's not healthy for any of us.
Healthy? You're talking about health. Look at what you're doing. Full custody. Are you trying to completely shut me out of our child's life?
The terms are based on your actions. You were absent when our child was born, and you've shown no interest or responsibility since then. I have to prioritize our child's well-being.
Well, I won't stand for this. You can't just take everything away from me. I'll fight. I'll fight you for custody.
I understand you're upset, but I need you to understand that this decision wasn't made lightly. Our child's safety and happiness are my top priority. We can discuss visitation rights, but please try to see things from our child's perspective. His reactions revealed a lack of accountability and a failure to acknowledge his own actions and negligence. Instead of reflecting on his behavior and taking responsibility, he chose to lash out in a desperate attempt to retain control. At that moment, I saw the true colours of the man I once loved. I held on to the hope that one day he would understand the consequences of his actions and find a path towards growth and change. Seeing Eddie's rage only fueled my determination to move forward with the divorce proceedings and secure a life of happiness and stability for myself and my child. Eddie tried to contest the terms, but little did he know I had meticulously documented his abandonment during and after the pregnancy. My mother stood by my side, ready to testify as a witness to his neglect. The courtroom proceedings stretched over a few months. As I sought to protect my child and secure a better future for us, it was a challenging and emotional journey. During the hearings, my lawyer presented documented proof of Eddie's abandonment during and after my pregnancy. This evidence included records of his late-night work shifts, his avoidance of household chores, and his refusal to be there for me when I needed him the most. My lawyer also highlighted the fact that Eddie went on business trips and dismissed my pleas for support during my 8th month of pregnancy. To strengthen my case, my mother provided her testimony as a witness. She described firsthand the neglect I experienced and the burden she had to shoulder in taking care of both me and the baby. Her words carried the weight of truth and painted a clear picture of Eddie's absence. Eddie, filled with rage and disbelief, tried to contest the terms of the divorce. He tried to argue that he only worked such long hours to provide for the family. He said he never meant to abandon me or cause me any grief. But the evidence was undeniable, and my lawyers skillfully argued that Eddie had failed in his responsibility as a husband and father. The judge carefully reviewed all the evidence and listened to the testimonies. In the end, the ruling was in my favour. I was granted full custody of our child, ensuring her safety and well-being. He also granted Eddie with visitation rights every week and ruled that a certain amount be given to me every month of child support. Eddie's reaction to the ruling was shocking. He fell to the floor, his anger and disbelief visible for all to see. While it was difficult to witness his reaction, I knew deep down that the judge's decision was fair and just. Leaving the courtroom that day, I carried a mix of emotions. There was a sense of victory, knowing that I had fought for what was best for my child. Yet there was also a sadness for the love that had faded in the life I had envisioned for my family. So here I am, sharing my story with all of you. I wanted to tell you that even in the darkest times, when we feel utterly abandoned, we can rise above and find our strength. Today I am a single mother, fiercely protective of my daughter and determined to give her a life filled with love and support. To all the women out there who have experienced similar struggles, please know that you are not alone. Seek the support you deserve. Surround yourself with loved ones who lift you, and remember that you are capable of creating a better future for yourself and your children.